How's it going? I'm Jeremy Fertelman, and the speech that I've prepared for you today is called Controversial Freedom. To start off with, I'm an avid supporter of the Second Amendment of the United States and of the Bill of Rights. Today, I will make a point that the Bill of Rights, and more importantly, the right to self preservation, the defense of liberty, and the ability to protect our nation from threats both foreign and domestic, is ultimately the purpose of the Constitution and of the Bill of Rights, more especially the Second Amendment. It is my belief that the Bill of Rights is the linchpin of the Constitution and all fundamental and is a fundamental necessity for the foundation of our nation. Starting with the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights was ratified in December of 1791, and it was primarily fought for by Thomas Jefferson and James Madison, who were the staunch proponents of personal freedoms and the limitations of government. James Madison, you might remember, there was was credited as the father of the Constitution, and at first he really didn't believe in the Bill of Rights until his communications back and forth with Thomas Jefferson, as we see in the Federalist Papers. The proponent of the Bill of Rights, Thomas Jefferson, said that the Constitution as it stood was not a good enough representation of the safeguards of liberties and principles that Americans should hold. And he pointed out the different acts that he put into place as governor of Virginia while he was governor, such as the freedom of religion, the separation of church and state, things of that nature, because he would fear he would fear essentially that the government could always become tyrannical, and he wanted to leave something enshrined in their work to be able to allow future generations to be able to prosper. The founding fathers were genius in the sense that they left us a living document. They left us a document that can be changed, edited, revised, and made current with the times. And even then, the wording, though it may be categorized, typically Old English, um, still carries significant weight today. I mean, if you think about it, everything has changed, and yet the amendments still apply the same today as they did then. Uh, you might not be so familiar, and you might not know. So I'll just go ahead and tell you. The Second Amendment states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And you might ask yourself, what's the big deal? And the idea is essentially that is the guarantor of all of your other rights. You're going to be able to defend yourself from a tyrannical government or a foreign entity coming in and being able to usurp your rights and take away your voice. The founders established the Bill of Rights to preserve humanity's fundamental rights, or their quote unquote God given rights. The Second Amendment was to ensure that citizens of this new nation were armed and could be readily mobilized if the need arose from a threat of foreign or domestic. They were meant to be armed to protect themselves, their neighbors, and their country. As the Constitution is meant to be a living document that supersedes time, so too are the rights enshrined therein. And if you really think about it, during the day, say for the First Amendment that guaranteed the right of the press and the right of free speech, they could never imagine the internet. They could never imagine Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, you name it. But aren't we so happy and proud today to be able to say what we want without having to worry about persecution, to say, pro or anti-government, rhetoric without having to worry about being jailed or hung up for treason, as would happen in England of the day. The idea of the Second Amendment is that it might be the Second Amendment, but it's the first one you should rely on to protect all of your other rights. Um, I would challenge you to think of a world where the people of the United States don't have that power behind their voice. How quickly do you think America could fall into tyrannical or an oppressive government, whether it be here or from abroad? Uh, it's a scary thought. So I want to go ahead and thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.